So, people, welcome back to the Coach's Desk. I'm your host, Coach Minzy, and it's an interesting topic that we want to touch on this in this video. You know what I mean? Because a few of the local coaches are saying that, you know, it's best to continue to work with what we have. You know what I mean? And the fans out there are saying that, nah, we're not working with that. So as you can see in the title of this video, that's basically what we want to talk about. The head coach is not only the coach for matches, but every month you have work with the local players. Yeah? And that is the sentiment echoed by former national coach, German Winifred Schaefer. Yeah? What he's basically saying is that there are a lot of time need to be spent with developing local talent in the country. And this would improve our chances at the World Cup qualification. So basically what he's saying, and I hear a lot of former players echoing this sentiment, that, and coaches too, that there should at all times be a local squad that is being prepared, right? And then you add the pieces that are necessary to add to the unit going forward. You know that we are in a predicament right now where the team is concerned. We are really in a predicament. I hear people saying that if we win the next 6 games, we'll qualify. And I really hope that that will happen. I agree that we have to win all 6 games. But when we look at it, we have to depend too much on other teams. And that is where the whole thing is, for me, in a dilemma. Because once we're depending on teams, it's not a good look. We have to depend on Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, Canada. No. That simply means our fate is not in our own hands. Yeah, and that is something that is not a good look. We need 6 games, 6 games, 18 points from 6 games, and we played 8 and only got 7. I really want to see this team do well, but right now, where we are now, it's a very delicate and tedious task, if you ask me. What Winifred is really saying, people, is that the local players really need more training with the head coach and staff. So there is this question that has been asked over a period of time. What does the head coach do when the team is off international break, when they are not playing? What does he do? And that's the question, the $1 million question that has been asked by many fans. What does he do? And it's a really interesting and good question. It's a pertinent question, because as Winifred is saying that, I mean, there should be a set of local players that should always be training. And you know what? I believe, when that is happening, the head coach is active. In other words, the head coach will always be on his P's and his Q's. He will see things in training that, he try to assimilate to help with his in-game management, his selection and all of this. But if he has nothing to do when the team is not playing, then it's an issue for me. And that is essentially what Winifred Schaefer is saying. You know what I mean? So what Schaefer is saying that there should be a goal and an ambition, for the improving of the local players toward earning professional contracts, which would then propel Jamaica's standard for the World Cup competition. So when the locals are playing or training with the national team, and if some of them matriculate into the national team, then they will get contracts, go overseas, and then, you know, it will be good for the football. But persons will have a problem with that because they are going to be saying that, listen, the national team is not for that. Once they have a club that they are playing for, they should be developed by these clubs, continue to play games over the period of the competition, and then clubs will see them. You know what I mean? Persons are saying that you cannot use a national team to export players. The national team is not for that. I know that sometimes the clubs, who would be interested in the players, they want to know that the player is actually on the national team, getting regular games and all of that, always being called up. And possible that's one of the reasons why some of these players are always called up. You know what I mean? Because the national team is a good look for them, a good look on their resume. But that's the million dollar question for me again. Should the national team be used to develop these players? Because you develop them, you put them in the national team, them get contract. Yes. But what about them getting contract, going away through the development from their clubs, and then they will come back to help the national team rather than the other way around? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one, people? Do you believe that? I know some of you don't agree, now, but put it into perspective. Do you agree with Winifred Schaefer? He's saying that it is very important to the national team for players to play outside of the country in countries with a stronger league. That gives the player more confidence and when he's in the national team. But before that, Schaefer said ultimately the goal and ambition must be improving local players towards earning professional contracts, which would then propel Jamaica's standard for World Cup competition. So what he's saying that once there's a local contingent training, then the standard will be developed so that they can get contracts. But if the standards is developed, is it a case where they go back to play for their clubs and they are seen, or they get a stint in the national team and they are seen? That's possible where the issue is, where that statement is concerned. You know, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one, people? Do you agree with that statement? Tell me. I want you to tell me what are your thoughts on that comment by Winifred Schaefer. Talk to me now, people, because I don't know if I wholeheartedly agree with that. You know what I mean? Winifred is also saying, look at Taxi, which is Kemar Lawrence, the left defender. I saw him in Harborview and I told him, you come to us and we make training for him. Afterward, he goes to New York. He goes to Belgium. Afterward, 3 players go to MLS. Other players to Belgium, he related. We had much time for training. So you hear what he's saying? So because of the involvement of these players in the national training, big things happen for them. Yeah? So basically what he's saying, this is the way to go. And probably that's why there's this notion that local based players have to play. You know? Local based players have to play. Because when you look at even the squad coming up, except for the Panama game, probably there are no more than 4 UK based players in Coach Whitmore's team. So I mean, it could be a case where they are trying to live up to this, whole notion of getting players exposed and getting players into clubs overseas. Is it a way where these clubs make money? Interesting. Interesting. But I do believe that there should be a local team training though, because that will keep the coach active. Whichever coach is there, that will keep the coach active, and I mean, definitely that possibly will allow for some decent training for these players and so forth. I just want to look on one other thing in terms of the yeah man, I just want to look on one other thing, people, because it is very interesting before we close out. Some people, all right, some of the local coaches believe that the boys still have a chance. Yeah, and they are saying that there has to be a lot of what you call it, work put in, hope, and they have to win their remaining games. You know what I mean? So they believe that it can happen. Some believe that it was left a little bit too late. It may be a little bit too hard. The worst case scenario, we try to fight for the fourth spot. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. This is gonna be tough, but I mean, pretty much this is what some of the coaches are saying. One of the coaches are basically saying that you know the squad that Jamaica have, we should be producing results, but the problem is that we have never picked the best 23. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, Leon Bailey and Antonio, two very good players, above average. But I mean, will their exploits alone cause us to be in the World Cup or even the playoff spot? Wow, it's a tricky situation. But for one thing for sure, I do believe that the whoever the coach is gonna be, if it's Stopper or what, they're gonna be fighting to the end. That's what I believe. So share your thoughts on what you believe these comments are, people. I want you to share your thoughts and tell me what do you believe? Do you think it's too late? Do you believe that the local coach, head coach, should be working with some players to at least keep his mind in the game and so forth? Because sometimes you look at it theoretically, watch a game and therefore you're able to, but you want to be able to do it practically. So I definitely agree with that point that the local coach should be working with some players. You know what I mean? To keep him active, keep the whole. There's a principle of training is that if you don't use it, you lose it. So whatever the coach has in mind, he has to be able to utilize it. You know what I mean? And the same thing persons were saying about the alleged coach that we should be getting, which I don't think will happen, that he has not coached for quite some time, and then what will he offer? So it's the same thing. Coach Theodore Whitmore not working throughout the period when it's off or no competition. Do you think you'll lose it? Share your thoughts down below in the comment section, people. Thanks again for tuning in. Much love and respect. Big up. I'm out.